Happy April in the fantastic City Hall of Salem, Massachusetts. Mayor, thank you so much for hosting us in your building, the People's Building here in historic Salem, Massachusetts. My name is Matt Boger. I am proud to represent the federally designated organ procurement organization, New England Donor Services. It is our job each and every day to help save and enhance lives through what I call the miracle of organ transplantation. I do want to thank, who will speak later on, the head of the Registry of Motor Vehicles, a very big job that sees literally thousands of people on a weekly basis. We work in close collaboration with the RMV, and I have to say the DMV or BMV throughout New England and organizations like us throughout the country. The question, would you like to register as an organ and tissue donor, is presented to all Americans when they get or renew their driver's license, ID, or real ID. We are the only public health question presented on a state document that's seen by the vast majority of people, and we take great pride in that. This is something that's supported by the state and federal level. Registering as an organ donor is a voluntary choice. That being said, it is not a neutral choice. Again, both the state and federal government provide the opportunity to easily do that. I do also want to thank the Massachusetts Department of Public Health, who created a fantastic campaign regarding Be a Hero, help save someone else's life. I want to make sure it's clear, the HERO Act is registering as an organ donor. Organ donation is very, very rare. It does not happen often. In fact, only 5% of all deaths happen in a manner where one can become an organ donor. And in fact, you're more likely to need a transplant than become an organ donor. But we're here to give more attention to organ donation. We're here more specifically to hear from the amazing stories of people personally touched by organ donation, and to encourage people to say yes when they go to the RMV. I'm so pleased to introduce Gary Swain, who is going to share his story. Thank you, Gary. Appreciate that. I'm going to dance by you, and you go right here. Thanks. You got to be like right on. Thanks.
All right. My name's Gary Swain. I'm from another town close by that was founded basically by the drunks that were tarred and feathered and thrown out of Salem, Marblehead. So, born and brought up in Marblehead, had an incredibly active life. I've done so much in my life. And the one thing I never thought I would do would be to have a heart transplant. Early on, I started having some issues with my heart, irregular heart rhythms, nothing too big, a little bit of dilated cardiomyopathy. Dealt with everything over at Salem Hospital, and it got to the point where my doctors at Salem Hospital said, maybe you should talk to the doctors at Mass General Hospital about a transplant. And I'm looking at them going, why would I need a transplant? I'm living life to its fullest. I'm out racing. You know, that's one of the things we do in Marblehead. I'm out climbing mountains. I am living life. I'm working in healthcare, swordfish the Grand Banks. I've done everything there is to do. I never in my life would have thought that I would have needed a heart transplant. August 18th, 2021, I went into Brigham and Women's Hospital for an ablation. And they took me off my medications, and in order to better stimulate the arrhythmias to go in and have this ablation. And Saturday, I went in on a Friday. Saturday was fine. Sunday was fine. Monday came around. You could start to see the monitor, a few little issues with the arrhythmias. Tuesday, I'm lying in my hospital bed, waiting for my ablation to happen on Wednesday. Chief of cardiac transplantation with 7 interns from Harvard Medical School were doing their morning rounds, and I'm talking to them like I'm talking to you people now. My eyes roll back in my head, and I go into VTAC, ventricular tachycardia, at about 260, 270 beats a minute. And they called what's called a rapid. In other words, they're preparing for a code. The device in my chest at that point had 2 functions. It could either pace me out of my arrhythmia, or it could shock me out of my arrhythmia. It would pace me out, I'd go right back into it. Pace me out, go right back into it. And of course, they called a rapid. The teams descended on me. terrified, trying to figure out what's going on because I haven't had anything like this happen. And they got me stabilized. 2 hours later, I went into it 10 times worse. I coded. I had no blood pressure. They finally got me back where I was able to talk. They looked at me and said, Gary, we're going to move you down to intensive care. And I'm like, how about just doing the ablation so I don't have to go through this again? Got down to intensive care. They came in and said, we can't do the ablation. Your issue is genetic. And I had a genetic defect called the DSP gene, which attacked the muscle tissue of my heart. Well over half of my heart was nothing but scar tissue. There was no way they could do the ablation. So they came in and said, we're going to bump you up to status 2 on the heart transplant list. Status 2 is not quite, status 1, you're too ill to get a heart. Status 2, you're probably at the highest level. They said, call your family, you're not leaving the hospital, and you have a new heart. And I'm like, wait a minute, it's June. July's coming around, my favorite holiday, the 4th of July. Let's just do the ablation so I can head home. Well, that's not the way it worked. August 7th, they came in. I'd gone in June 18th. August 7th, they came in and said, Gary, we have a heart for you. And not many people on this planet can go through that type of emotion. It's incredible relief. It is terror, absolute terror. Reality is hitting. All of a sudden you're going, they're going to cut me open and put somebody else's heart in my chest. Then the sorrow, realizing that somebody has passed away, somebody is an organ donor, and they are saving my life. I went in and had my transplant the following day at 12:30 in the afternoon. I came to about 18 hours later, intubated in cardiac intensive care at Brigham and Women's Hospital with a new heart. Turns out my donor was 39 years old. He had two children, 2 stepchildren. He was an Iraq War veteran who had a accident on a skateboard, which left him brain dead. Unfortunately, and fortunately for his family, he was not signed up to be an organ donor. He did not have the heart on his license. That's what is so important. His parents had to make that decision. That was the hard part. They're already going through the loss of a child. Their son is dying. They know it. They were, talked to by doctors and members from New England Organ Donor Services and said, would you be willing to donate your son's organs? They made that decision, and that saved my life. To this day, I have an amazing relationship with my donor family. I turn around and I have to give back a bit. That's how I got involved with New England Organ Donor Services. I also work with another group, Heart Brothers Foundation, where I go in and I meet with people that are waiting for transplants. There's a gentleman who just had his transplant 36 hours ago at the Brigham. I spoke to his wife last night. I'll be going in to visit with him once he's ready. I have to give back a bit. And so everything that the registry does is amazing. And, getting that person to put that little heart on their license is so important. And it's really spelled out with what my donor family has had to go through in making a decision that saved my life. And today they're part of my family and I'm part of their family. I'll be with them tomorrow at the State House. And but sign up. Be an organ donor. Be somebody's hero. I have a hero. His name was Daniel. He saved my life. There we go. Well,
Thank you. Awesome. Dance buddy here. Awesome. Gary, thank you so much. It shows the miracle of transplantation. I mean, having a heart transplant is not a small surgery, and you're living your life to the fullest. I know that you just got back from Bermuda after sailing because of that St. Martin, somewhere perhaps a little bit warmer than New England, doing a wonderful job. So, fantastic story, and it shows the importance of love and giving. It's the gift of life, and the legacy lives on through Gary. So it is a touching story. There are two sides to organ donation. A, the individuals who receive the transplant, which is a miracle, but B, the other side of the donor family. And I've had the pleasure of working with an individual who actually works some of the time at Salem Hospital to share her story about her, well, I'll let her share it. Carol, thank you so much for being here. Care for that step.
Thank you. Good morning.
Morning.
So, to begin with, this is not usually part of my story, but I was telling my son that I was going to be speaking in Salem for organ donation this week, and I said, I told them that my son graduated from Salem High, and he said, not only did I graduate from Salem High, but I was the first full class to go all through Witchcraft Heights School. They built it for me. But in September of '83, when he was a junior at Salem High, he was on his way out to driving school one night, and he stopped and he said to me, "Mom, if anything happens to me, I would like to be an organ donor." And I actually remember saying, "Oh, dear Lord, I don't even want to think about it." But we all did sign up for organ donation, and for a good many years, we never thought about it again. Now, move all the way up to April of 1999. Scott's married by that time, and he's an Army intelligence officer with two beautiful sons, Christopher, 2.5, and Ethan, 11 months. And he was stationed in Monterey, California. And while we were having a wonderful Easter weekend vacation trip with them to a redwood forest, as Ethan lay asleep with his head resting on Scott's shoulder, the train stopped. And they suggested that we all get out and see and touch and feel the trees and take pictures. And we discussed whether we should do that or not. And we said, no, we'll never be here again. And we had made a lot of decisions that day, like, which car to get on, which time to leave and everything. So we were the last ones getting off the train. And all of a sudden, I remember a sudden gust of wind, people screaming, and a falling limb hit Ethan in the head. And in that split second of time, our lives changed forever. MedFlight flew Ethan to Stanford University, where he received the most wonderful and compassionate care. And I believe that God always answers our prayers, but I also knew that we don't always get the answer we want. And I think that was going to be one of those days. We continually prayed for a miracle, that he would live and be the same happy, beautiful little boy that he was when we woke up that morning. It was an 80-mile trip for us to get there from the forest to Stanford. And that's all you know how to do is to pray to whoever you pray to. And I knew I was praying for a miracle. And when we got there, the pediatric neurosurgeon asked to speak to us. And I've worked for doctors all my life. And I looked at the look on his face and I said, oh, this isn't going to be good. And he told us that Ethan had suffered a very serious head trauma and that they were doing everything they could to keep him alive. And on the third day, the doctor, they were wonderful. And we always had an Army chaplain with us, a hospital chaplain with us, and the doctor updated the kids every 4 hours. And on the third day, the doctor asked to speak to us. And he took us in, and he said that by the next test, Ethan would be declared brain dead, and that his parents had chosen to donate his organs. In what was really the darkest time of our lives, all of a sudden it was like the sun came out with a rainbow, because finally something good was going to happen. And you wait. And I've always worked in a hospital and for doctors, and I knew about the organ bank, but I didn't realize there was a wait involved. So first we had to wait And we prayed, let them find a donor, because sometimes you don't find a donor. And it took another 24 to 36 hours while we waited. And the lady came in and said they couldn't find anyone that needed a heart. And I went, oh. And she tapped me on the, she said, that's a good thing that nobody that age needed a heart. I said, well, I guess so. But his liver was going to go to a little boy the same age. And his 2 kidneys were going to a 55-year-old man in Pennsylvania. And that was a surprise to everyone, and she explained how that could happen. And that was another wait, because then you wait for the transplant team to come and recover the organs from Pennsylvania. And so that was another day and a half. And then the nursing team, who was trying so hard to save Ethan, had gone from the saving Ethan to keeping his organs viable. And they were wonderful, and we were with him all the time. And then they let Scott and Andrea go with him to the OR doors as they took him. And then we brought him home. And he's buried in Peabody with my mom. And now my mom and dad and sister. But it was sometime in the year that followed, in my grief, that I realized that same Easter weekend that we were praying so hard for him to live, the family of those 2 families were praying just as fervently for their families to live too. And Ethan was the answer to their prayers. And I realized how blessed were we to even have him for that short time. He was the answer to their prayers, and always will be remembered by them, I'm sure. In retrospect, I realized that on that day, we were exactly where we were supposed to be at that one moment in time. It's been, as of tomorrow, it will be 25 years since that tragic day. And although at times it seems like only yesterday, even now sometimes it seems like only yesterday, through this story, Ethan, the beautiful, lovable, cuddly, blue-eyed little blonde that never knew anything but love, has touched more people in his short life than I will ever touch in my long one. And so in honor of Ethan, whenever I'm given the choice, I continually ask everyone to consider organ donation. And if you already are one, please spread the word. It can make all the difference, not only to the families of the recipients, but to the family, the grieving, heartbroken family. It doesn't take away pain, but it softens the sorrow and lightens your darkness. So think about it if you haven't already. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Carol, this might be one of the most beautiful pictures I've ever seen. And thank you for...
It was taken the day before the accident.
And how old is he in that picture?
11 months.
11 months. So he would have been 26-ish. Yeah. So I talk to a lot of individuals who've been personally touched by organ donation, and I sometimes feel sorrow for asking people to share the story of a loved one who's passed. And I don't want to talk for Carol, but almost to a T, they say, no, this is a great opportunity for me to remember them and to share how wonderful they are and to share what a true hero they are. Carol, I'm sure you have the same feeling here, that you appreciate your donor each and every day. So it is these stories that inform people. Again, our motto, where's our motto? Here we go, is donate life. We don't want anyone to die, period. Having someone pass away to save someone else's life is a zero-sum game. Sadly, almost on a daily basis, people do pass away, but the opportunity for something good to happen from something tragic is a very positive one, and that's what we're here to recognize. I do want to share a few statistics. We work very closely with the RMV in part because in Massachusetts, the data is 98% of all people who register as an organ donor do so at the Massachusetts RMV. In the nation, 96% of all people who register do so when they get their driver's license, ID, or real ID. The idea of registering as an organ donor is a good one. And in fact, we want to thank the Massachusetts DPH for creating this website, mass.gov/organ donor, or mass.gov/Jim's head. So either one may take you there. Thank you. You're a better picture than that, but we want to encourage everyone. Right now, 48% of people in Massachusetts register as an organ donor, which is mediocre, honestly. We used to be at 52. I think a lot has happened since the pandemic in education, and I think driving has become less interested to some other individuals. We are a leader. We are called the Bay State. I think your motto is creating history or recreating history or continue to create history. Still making history. History real close there. But to educate individuals, to encourage them to register and realize that that heart on your license is a great indication that you have a heart and that you could actually provide hope to someone. That being said, this heart probably means you will not become an organ donor. And if you flip that question, if you needed a transplant, would you accept one? And the answer is yes. I've got a few more statistics to share, but we're so pleased to have a very busy person here who is in charge of all the RMVs. And again, hundreds of thousands of people go through there each and every year. Colleen has been a wonderful partner in this and really appreciate your time speaking. Thanks, Colleen.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Mayor, for hosting us. This is a very inspirational time of year for the Registry of Motor Vehicles, and I have one of our team members here, Lloyd, who manages our Northeast Service Center offices, is because we have an opportunity to come out and make everybody aware about the importance of organ donation. The Registry is very proud and very lucky to be part of an organization that can continue to give back by offering organ and tissue donation enrollment as part of our business process. As Matt said, we've lost some ground. We need everyone to understand and know you have the opportunity at every license renewal, at the first time application for a permit or a driver's license or a Massachusetts identification card, or upon renewal, you have the opportunity to enroll as an organ and tissue donor. And as Matt said, it's very easy. All you do is check the box that says yes on the paper application or the online application. And when you receive your driver's license or identification card in the mail, you'll see that red heart symbol. Our team is constantly looking to support by wearing gear, displaying posters in our offices, and making people aware. Many of our own team members have had people impacted by organ donation, either as donors or recipients. Myself, one of my best friends growing up, received a kidney transplant that knew it wasn't going to last for his life. He accepted it because he was in dire consequences. And unfortunately, about 45 years old, he died waiting for a second transplant. But that life that he had for those 13 years, beyond the 10 years of the life expectancy, with that first kidney was very well embraced. He got to meet his nieces and nephews, which was really important to him as a family person. We need to do more, each of us, in our own families, in our own communities, to make this really an option that people voluntarily say yes to. You heard these inspirational stories of people that have continued their life, of people who are blessed to have made the decision to contribute, to help somebody with their life. And as Matt said, during the pandemic, some things have changed. We've lost some ground. We need all of our communities in each of our cities and towns in Massachusetts to understand the options, understand the science of what happens, and not be afraid about volunteering to be a donor. Get the facts, learn what it means, and talk to your family. We also do an effort on behalf of Matt, and our importance with our commitment to this organization is a few of us during non-business hours, whether it's 10 o'clock on a Friday night, 7 a.m. on a Saturday, we'll get a phone call from Matt to try to help facilitate confirming if somebody is an organ donor with the registry so that the organ procurement organizations can continue to do their job. So we remain committed, and we invite you all to learn about it and encourage your family and friends and people in your community to check yes and say, I want to be an organ and tissue donor. So thank you so much.
Colleen, thank you so much. And it is not a question why you are a fantastic leader and a wonderful spokesperson for a state agency that I think is seen by the most amount of people, and really appreciate your collaboration. It is not a 9-to-5 job, as you had mentioned, and our phone calls at perhaps 11 o'clock at night are greatly appreciated. So thank you for that. And Lloyd, thank you for what you do for all the branches. I'm going to say something controversial right now, and I hope Colleen doesn't get angry at me. The RMV is a great place to go. I mean, the staff is wonderful and happy. I think the general thought is like, oh, it's going to be a time draw. It may take a little bit of time. They have a reservation system. They move very quickly. You get a smile in, you get a smile out. I love to go. I think Colleen's philosophy would be like, you know what, go online. Might be a little bit easier, but talk about a state agency that has a fantastic people who are committed to something. The amount of people who've worked there for decades is amazing. In today's world, very few people work at one place for a long time. You've created a wonderful community to do that. So thank you for that aspect. We as New England Donor Services take great pride in working with the state agencies to provide this information and to help provide facts. I think Colleen mentioned this. Learn the facts. There is no age limit to register as an organ donor. 60, 70, 80, and even 90, you can register as an organ donor. Registering as an organ donor does not necessarily mean you will become an organ donor. In fact, when an individual passes away, and as I said, only 5% of all deaths happen in a manner where one can become an organ donor, the New England Donor Services has a staff of over 350 people throughout New England, and we are like the Minute Women and Minute Men of yesteryear. We are on the call within seconds. We assess an organ to make sure that it is healthy enough to help save an individual who has a weaker organ. And statistically, you could save up to 8 people's lives through the transplantation of a heart, lung, liver, pancreas, kidney. You've got 2 kidneys, so they could go to other individuals. And then tissue donation can enhance the lives of over 50 individuals. And again, organ donation is very rare. You're more likely to need a transplant than to become an organ donor. As I said, New England Donor Services, representing Massachusetts, which is among the best hospitals, not in the world, but in the universe, works in close collaboration with all the hospitals in the area, including Salem, even hospitals that are not transplant facilities. We work with them to assess if individuals are there, and we are proud of the work that we do both on the local, state, regional, and national level. One of our, as I said, we have over 315 people strong, and we are committed to doing the best service for the people who are waiting right now in the United States. There's over 104,000 people today on the waiting list waiting for a life-saving organ. In New England, there's over 6,000 individuals today on the waiting list waiting for that phone call. The most in-demand organ is a kidney. About 78% of all people waiting, and actually I think that stat's a little even higher, are waiting for a kidney transplant. One of our recent, I'm going to use acquisitions, but hires, I think, is Jim Rodrigue, who is actually one of the foremost researchers in the United States working on the local and federal level to help study, understand, and communicate organ donation. We're so pleased to have him on staff and call him a colleague. I've been fortunate to work with 7 or 8 federal grants that he has written. I don't write much, so his penmanship is much better than mine. But Jim, thank you so much for being here and saying a few words.
Thanks, Matt. Let's bring this a little closer to home. In Massachusetts, 8 out of every 10 people who live in this state think organ donation is a great thing. But as you just heard from Colleen and Matt, fewer than half actually sign up to be organ donors. So we still have a lot of work to do, and I encourage everybody to consider donation. We have over 4,000 people in Massachusetts, and we have several living here in Salem who are on a waiting list currently for a transplant. Last year, about 1,200 of those individuals received a transplant. Fantastic news. But we had many who did not because of an organ shortage. Over 250 of those people died while they were waiting. We need to solve that problem here in Massachusetts. As Carol noted, another side of the transplant story are the families who lose those individuals while they're waiting for an organ donor. My family was one of those many years ago. My parents lost their 5-year-old son to kidney disease before his opportunity for a transplant. A year later, I was born, and I've dedicated my life to ensuring that no family has to go through that. So I implore you, please consider organ donation at the RMV, online. There are many ways to register. It's easy. Thank you.
Jim, thanks so much, and so proud to call you colleague. Jim has got an office right next to me, and I think we need a sound barrier, so I apologize for any verbosticness that I have. Mayor, thank you for hosting this. Tomorrow, Governor Healy is going to proclaim April as Organ Donation Month in the state of Massachusetts, following the lead of President Biden, who on Monday, perhaps, the first, yes, proclaimed April as Organ Donation Month on the federal level. And this is to, educate, bring intended use to register as an organ donor and to get the facts. Mayor, thank you for, I know you've got a busy schedule, and to fit us in at 9 o'clock is appreciated. I know you've got a few words to say, but thank you for having us and hearing these wonderful stories.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Gary, Carol, for sharing those stories. It was, as a father, that was very, very heartbreaking for me. I'm very sorry. I'm proud to be an organ donor. Signed up the day I got my driver's license. I'm not going to say what year that was because that'll disclose too much. But it is disheartening, if you pardon the pun, to hear that I'm in the minority, and hopefully everyone who's watching or reading or getting this message, if you haven't considered signing up for organ donation, that you become a donor today. I'm going to share a brief proclamation. I'm very happy to hear that we're beating the Commonwealth by a day in proclaiming this month. And I also want to recognize City Councilor Alice Merkel, who's joined us, and from the City of Salem, our health agent, Dave Greenbaum, my Chief of Staff, Lisa Peterson, and Hannah Levine from Representative Cruz's office. So thank you all for being here. Whereas, realizing the urgent need for organ and tissue donors across the country, the Organ Donation Month observance promotes a great understanding about the life-saving benefits of donation and transplantation. Moreover, the need is increasing, and Salem is committed to addressing that need through increased awareness. And whereas the transplantation of organs and tissue is a miracle of modern science, made possible through the compassion of organ and tissue donors, enabling surgeons to save thousands of lives every year. One organ donor can save 8 lives, and one tissue donor can restore health to over 75 others. People of all ages, backgrounds, and religions are touched by donation and by the serious shortage of organ donors that exists. Currently, there are over 5,000 New England residents and over 100,000 Americans awaiting life-saving transplant operations. And whereas every capable person should support this vital effort by registering as an organ and tissue donor, making their family aware of their wishes, and being willing to give the precious gift of health and sight and life to people in need. Whereas registering as an organ and tissue donor at the local registry of motor vehicles or online at mass.gov/organ donor signifies our fundamental human responsibility to help others. Now, therefore, I, Dominic Pangallo, Mayor of the City of Salem, and on behalf of its residents, do hereby proclaim the month of April as Organ Donation Month and call upon our residents, community members, and local leaders to join New England Donor Services in their Have a Heart and Get a Heart campaign by registering registering as a donor at the RMV when getting or renewing your driver's license, real ID, or ID. April 2nd, 2024. There you go.
So ordered.
Right. Thank you very much for having me. And again, mass.gov/organ donor. Please sign up. Thanks.
Great event. Thank you, Mayor. I really appreciate that. I have to say, I think your clock is broken.
Sure it is.
Just so you know, and I know you got just a few more minutes. I want to thank everyone for being here. I do want to thank the media. There's a phrase, if a tree falls in a forest, does it make a sound? It does if there's someone to capture it. These are great events, and I know that you've got a higher viewership in Salem of your community access TV, but bringing this out to the general public, hearing these individual stories, seeing how one can take action, we stand separate than all other important issues. That we are not looking for a cure. We know what that cure is. And we ask for donation, even though we're nonprofit and we will accept your money. We're talking about registering as an organ donor. So this is something that truly can make an impact. You're likely not to become an organ donor, but the ideal of saving a life is fantastic. So Mayor, thank you so much. Everyone, thank you for your being here and really appreciate it. We're going to do a quick picture down here with this, but thanks everybody.